My GILF cheated, and seems happier now. It wasn't a grand epiphany, no thunderclap or flashing neon sign. It was subtler than that. A creeping unease that settled in my gut and refused to leave. Eliza, my wife of 10 years, was different. We'd met in college. She was my English professor, a brilliant, sharp-witted woman who saw something in me, a shy, awkward kid from the suburbs. The age difference, 36 years, raised eyebrows then, and still did now, but we'd built a good life. A comfortable life, maybe too comfortable. For years, our days followed a predictable rhythm. I'd head to my software engineering job, a soul-crushing slog of code and deadlines. Eliza, having retired a few years back, would spend her days reading, attending her book club, tending her garden. Evenings were spent cooking dinner together, watching some mindless TV, maybe reading in separate rooms. It was pleasant. Then came the changes. Small things at first. A new perfume, something floral and expensive, a stark contrast to her usual musky scents. New clothes, too. Not drastically different, but younger, more vibrant. She'd always favored sensible sweaters and corduroy pants. Now there were fitted jeans, silk blouses, even a leather jacket. And the energy. Eliza, bless her heart, was 68 years old. She'd started complaining about aches and pains, slowed down considerably. Now she was practically bouncing off the walls. She'd signed up for yoga classes at the community center, something she'd always scoffed at before. Too woo-woo, she'd said. I initially dismissed it as a positive thing. Retirement had been tough on her. She missed the intellectual stimulation, the sense of purpose. Maybe this was her way of rediscovering herself. I was genuinely happy for her. Then came the dinner party. Margaret, a gossipy woman from Eliza's book club, cornered me while Eliza was in the kitchen refilling the wine glasses. She seems radiant, doesn't she? Margaret said, her eyes glinting with something I couldn't quite decipher. She does, I replied, smiling. It's great to see her so active. Margaret leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Active, yes, that's one word for it. Though I hear Daniel is quite the instructor. Daniel, I asked, confused. Who's Daniel? The yoga instructor, dear. At the community center. Very popular, apparently. She winked, a knowing, unsettling wink. I laughed it off. Margaret, you're terrible. Eliza wouldn't, but even as I said the words, doubt gnawed at me. A week later, I was working from home when Eliza's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She was out grocery shopping. Curiosity, or maybe it was the nagging feeling in my gut, got the better of me. I picked up her phone. A text message from an unknown number: looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Beautiful. Winking face, my blood ran cold. When Eliza got home, I confronted her. I tried to play it cool, casual. Hey, you got a weird text. Wrong number, probably. She snatched the phone from my hand, her face flushing. Yes, wrong number. Don't snoop, Mark. I wasn't snooping, I lied. The incident hung in the air between us, a thick, unspoken accusation. The doubt, once a tiny seed, began to sprout and take root. I started paying closer attention. Eliza's yoga schedule became increasingly erratic. Sometimes she'd go twice a week, other times 5. She'd come home flushed and energized, but strangely distant. She'd always been an open book, sharing the minutiae of her day. Now she was vague and evasive. How was yoga? I'd ask. Fine, she'd reply, her eyes flitting away. The usual. I started doing some digging of my own. I created a burner social media account, felt like a damn fool doing it, and searched for Daniel Community Center Yoga. Found him easily enough. Daniel was young, early 30s maybe. Lean, muscular, with a charming, easy smile that radiated warmth. His profile was full of photos of him teaching yoga, leading hiking trips, generally exuding a youthful vitality that made me feel like an old, worn-out shoe. Then, one afternoon, I decided to pick Eliza up from yoga unexpectedly. I figured I'd surprise her. I waited in the parking lot, watching as women, mostly older women, filed out of the community center. Eliza emerged, laughing with Daniel. They stood for a long time, talking, too long. I saw the way he looked at her, the way she tilted her head and smiled. And then I saw it. He reached out and took her hand. Just a brief squeeze, but it was enough. My heart hammered in my chest. I wanted to scream, to confront them, to drag Eliza home. But I couldn't. I was paralyzed. I drove away, my hands shaking. That night I confided in Sarah, my coworker. She'd always been perceptive, a good friend. Mark, I've noticed something's been off with you, she said, concern etched on her face. I told her everything. About Eliza's changes, the text message, Margaret's gossip, the hand holding. Sarah listened patiently, offering tissues and sympathetic glances. Mark, I'm so sorry. This sounds awful. I don't know what to do, I said, my voice cracking. I feel like my whole world is falling apart. You need to find out for sure, Sarah said firmly. You need concrete evidence before you confront Eliza. Otherwise, it'll just be your word against hers. She was right. I needed proof. A few days later, I was going through Eliza's mail when I found a receipt from a jewelry store. An expensive jewelry store. I didn't recognize the name, and I knew damn well I hadn't bought her anything recently. The receipt detailed a delicate gold necklace with a small diamond pendant. The kind of thing a young woman might wear. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I was going to find out the truth. I waited until Eliza said she was going to a special yoga retreat out of town. A retreat she'd conveniently forgotten to mention until the last minute. I followed her. It felt like something out of a bad movie. Me, tailing my wife in my beat-up sedan, feeling like a pathetic, cliché-ridden cuckold. She drove to a nondescript hotel on the outskirts of a neighboring town. I watched as she parked her car and walked into the hotel lobby. A few minutes later, Daniel arrived. He met her inside. I sat in my car for hours, watching the hotel entrance, consumed by a swirling vortex of rage, grief, and disbelief. The weight of it all threatened to crush me. Finally, late that night, Eliza emerged. Alone, I waited until she got home. She looked tired but strangely serene. I confronted her in the living room. The air was thick with tension. "Where were you, Eliza?" I asked, my voice trembling. She hesitated, her eyes darting around the room. "I told you, the yoga retreat." "Don't lie to me," said my voice rising. "I followed you. I saw you with him at the hotel." Her face crumpled. The serene mask shattered. She sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "Oh, Mark," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. The dam broke." Tears streamed down my face. "How could you do this to me, to us?" She looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. "I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened." "How does something like this just happen?" I yelled. She sighed, a weary, defeated sound. "I felt invisible, Mark. I felt like I was fading away. You were always so busy with work, so focused on your career. I felt like you didn't even see me anymore." "That's not true," I protested. "Isn't it?" she asked, her voice sharp. "When was the last time you really looked at me, Mark? Really saw me? Not just as your wife, but as a woman?" I didn't have an answer. "Daniel, he made me feel alive again," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "He made me feel desired. He saw me." The words were like a knife twisting in my gut. We argued for hours, a messy, emotional explosion of years of pent-up feelings and resentments. I accused her of betrayal, of throwing away our marriage. She accused me of neglect, of taking her for granted. We went to bed that night in separate rooms, the silence between us deafening. The next few days were a blur. We barely spoke. We communicated through terse notes left on the kitchen counter. "Milk is running low. Dry cleaning needs to be picked up." It was surreal, like living with a stranger. I told Sarah what happened. She hugged me tightly and offered to let me stay at her place. I considered it, but I couldn't bring myself to leave. Not yet. I started researching apartments, talking to a lawyer. The thought of ending our marriage, of dismantling our life together, was terrifying. But the thought of staying, of living with the knowledge of her betrayal, was unbearable. Eliza eventually broke the silence. She came to me, her eyes filled with remorse. "Mark, I'm so sorry," she said. "I know I've hurt you terribly, and I regret it." But what?" I asked, bracing myself. "But this wasn't just about Daniel," she said. "This was about us, about what our marriage had become. We need to fix things, or maybe we can't. I don't know, I don't want to lose you. But I also don't want to go back to the way things were." We talked, really talked. For the first time in years, maybe ever, we truly listened to each other. We talked about our needs, our desires, our expectations. We talked about our fears, our insecurities, our regrets. We decided to try therapy, couples therapy. The thought of baring our souls to a complete stranger was daunting, but we were desperate. Eliza ended things with Daniel. She said it was the hardest thing she'd ever done, but she knew it was the right thing. The ending of our story isn't neat or tidy. It doesn't have a clear resolution. We're still in therapy, still working through our issues. Some days are good, some days are bad. I don't know if we'll stay together. I don't know if I can ever fully trust her again, but I do know that we're both trying to understand each other, trying to rebuild what we lost. And here's the thing that twists the knife a little more: Eliza, despite the guilt and remorse, seems happier, more alive, more engaged with life. The affair, as destructive as it was, seemed to have jolted her awake, forced her to confront her own needs and desires. It's as if she had been sleepwalking, and Daniel was the alarm clock. Sometimes, I look at her and wonder if I did her a disservice by marrying her in the first place. Maybe she needed someone younger, someone who could keep up with her youthful spirit. Maybe I was holding her back. Maybe, in a strange, twisted way, she did the right thing for herself, even at my expense. The thought haunts me. The question lingers. and I don't know if I'll ever have a satisfactory answer.